The ground shook with each step the enemy took, their massive frames making the trees tremble in fear. Earth's resistance lines were failing fast, and every outpost beyond the Orion wastes had already fallen. No one had expected the Gravax to join the war, let alone send their largest division. But among them was one creature who fought differently. She didn't destroy. She protected. Private Ethan Mace had never seen an alien like her. Towering over even the biggest armored mechs, she had golden skin like sunlight through fire and eyes that shimmered like twin suns. Her body was wrapped in armor made from a creature's bone and silk, and yet, when she saw him bleeding beside a broken wall, she paused. The others marched past, but she knelt. He raised his rifle, aiming with trembling fingers, expecting death. But her voice didn't thunder like the others. It came soft, almost gentle, like wind through ash. "I'm not here to kill you," she said. "You saved my cub back there. I saw it. You could have shot. You didn't." Her massive claw reached out, not to crush him, but to offer something. A flask of water, sealed in alien steel. Ethan didn't trust her. How could he? This war had cost him his unit, his brothers. But when he looked into her eyes, there wasn't cruelty, there was sadness. He took the water, drank, and waited to die. Instead, she leaned close and whispered words no one could have expected. "I'm too big for you, human, but you saw me. Not the monster they say I am. Just me." When the next blast rocked the ground, she shielded him with her body. The shockwave rolled over her like rain over stone. Soldiers screamed. Around them, dust turned to fire, but she held him like he was something fragile and rare. Something worth saving. Later, when the smoke cleared, Ethan sat inside a half-collapsed bunker, with her crouched beside him. She was too large to enter fully, but she didn't leave. "Your people will come for you," she said. "Mine, they'll call me traitor for helping you." He didn't know what to say. So he asked the only question that made sense. "Why me?" She didn't answer right away. Her claw gently brushed the bandage she'd wrapped around his arm. "You didn't flinch when I touched you. You didn't see a beast. That's rare." She looked away then, as if afraid. "No male of my kind ever dared look at me with anything but fear or desire to fight. But you looked at me like I mattered." The silence between them stretched. Long, then footsteps, human ones. Ethan's cum crackled. "Rescue." She stood massive and strong again. "They'll take you now," she said, voice firm again. "You'll be safe." But her eyes didn't meet his this time. She turned to leave. "Wait," he said, forcing himself to stand. "You saved me. Come with me." She paused at the doorway, back still turned. "Your kind would never accept me. I'm a monster to them. I'm too big, too wrong, too alien." She finally glanced back, and in her eyes was a sadness older than war. "You were kind. But that doesn't make me yours." He stepped forward, ignoring the pain in his leg, ignoring the fear of what others might think. "You're not a monster, and I decide what's mine," he said. She blinked, as if confused, unsure how to respond. "Let's find out if there's a place for you." "With me." She looked at him then, truly looked. Her lips curled slightly, unsure whether it was a smile or a warning. "You may regret this, human. I am not soft. I am not small. I have crushed warriors with less than a breath." Ethan stood firm. "Then I guess I'll just have to be strong enough to hold on." Asterisk. The human soldiers surrounded Ethan the moment he stepped out of the bunker. Guns raised, eyes sharp. They didn't know if the giant alien beside him was friend or foe. She didn't move. She stood tall, silent, letting the tension build. If she had wanted, she could have crushed them all. But she didn't. She waited. For Ethan's words. "She's not our enemy," Ethan said, raising both arms. "She saved my life. Twice." The commanding officer, Captain Harris, narrowed his eyes. "That thing is a Gravax. They burned 10 cities on Mars, and you say she saved you?" Ethan nodded. I say she's not like the others. And I'm alive because of her. The captain looked at the alien again, this time with careful doubt. Her golden armor glowed under the rising sun. Her eyes stayed calm. She didn't even flinch when the humans shouted at her. She was massive, yes, but not violent. Just watching, waiting. Slowly the captain lowered his rifle. She crouched low, closer to Ethan's level. Her voice was soft again. They fear me. That's normal. I was bred to be feared. I was supposed to lead the front lines, tear walls, crush enemies, but I never liked blood. I only fought to protect the small ones. My kind calls that weakness. Ethan watched the way she looked at his team, not with anger, but with worry. What's your name? He asked. She blinked, surprised. I have no name in your words, but mine would sound like thunder in your ears. You may call me Saraxa. The name felt strong, fitting. Saraxa, Ethan repeated, and she looked almost pleased. They transported her in a supply freighter, too small for her full height. She curled in tight, staying still so she wouldn't damage the ship. Ethan sat beside her, even when the others warned him not to. You're not scared of me? She asked. You're still big, he said with a grin. But I've seen what's bigger. War, hate, loneliness. You're not worse than those. She stared at him a long time. You speak like a warrior, but you smell like mercy. That made Ethan chuckle. Guess that's what I am, a mix of both. He leaned back against her arm, resting like it was the safest place in the galaxy. Saraxa didn't move, but her eyes stayed on him the whole time. Back at base, things didn't go smooth. The generals demanded she be locked up. Scientists called her a specimen. Some wanted to dissect her. Others wanted to use her. Ethan stood against them all. She is not a weapon, he said in every meeting. She's a person. And she made a choice. She saved a human. But the pressure grew. Soldiers whispered. Civilians stared. They called her beast, monster, threat. Ethan could feel her pulling away, withdrawing from the humans more each day. I knew this would happen. Saraxa whispered one night as they sat beside a low-burning heater. I am too big for this world. You're not too big, Ethan replied. This world is just too small-minded. He reached out and touched her hand, massive, clawed, but trembling like a frightened child. I want you here. With me. We'll make space. Her breathing slowed. She lowered her head closer to him. I don't understand you, human. No one's ever chosen me. Not without fear. Not without wanting something. What do you want from me? He looked her in the eyes. I want you to stop standing alone. I want you to have something worth living for. Maybe even someone. His voice cracked just a bit. Maybe me. Silence followed. She stared at him like she was staring into something new. Something impossible. I would break you, she said softly. Even if I tried not to, I'm not shaped for gentle things. I was built for war. I was never taught to touch with kindness. Then we'll teach each other, Ethan whispered. I'll show you softness. You show me strength. We'll fit somehow. For the first time since he met her, Saraxa smiled. Not a grin of teeth, not a smirk, a real smile. Small, uncertain but warm. You speak of dreams. I've never had one. If I stay with you, would you help me dream? I will, Ethan said, placing his hand against her chest where her heart pulsed strong beneath alien armor. And I'll be here when you wake up too. Saraxa remained on base under strict surveillance. Every move she made was tracked, every word recorded. Drones hovered near her constantly. Most humans avoided her, even when she bowed her head low and stayed calm. They only saw her size, not her silence. Only Ethan stayed close, treating her like she wasn't a threat. He brought her books translated into her language, stories of Earth's myths and heroes. She especially liked one about a giant who chose peace. He was hated for Being big, she said, but he used his strength to stop wars, not start them. Ethan smiled. Kind of sounds like you. She began training with Ethan each morning in the outer fields. The first time she lifted a human dumbbell, it shattered like glass. So Ethan brought her scrap metal from old ship hulls to shape her. Own tools. You don't need to prove your strength to me, he said. But I'll train with you, just to keep up. They ran drills together. He jumped from boulders. She caught him mid-air like he weighed nothing. When he tripped, she laughed not to mock him, but like she forgot how laughter felt. You fall a lot, little human, she said, but you always get up. I like that. Some soldiers began to change their views. Seeing Saraxa play chess with Ethan under the shade of burnt trees, or help engineers lift broken machinery, made her seem less alien, more real. She still scared many, but the fear started to crack. Kindness, even from something giant, was hard to ignore. One evening, Ethan found Saraxa sitting alone by the lake, watching the stars. Her armor was off, resting beside her. Underneath, her body was covered in smooth, thick skin that glowed faintly. Scars ran across her back and arms, memories of battles long past. Do they hurt? He asked, sitting beside her. They remind me who I was, she said, not who I am now. She turned toward him, lowering her face to his level. You've seen them, my scars, my strength, my size. Yet you still sit here. Why? Ethan leaned against her arm and whispered, because I don't care how big you are. You never made me feel small. You made me feel seen. She closed her eyes for a moment. My kind believe bonding happens through war. That only strength earns loyalty, but your ways, they're confusing. You offer care. You speak of warmth. I don't know what to do with that. Then let me show you, Ethan replied. He reached up, placed his hand gently on her cheek. She stiffened, then slowly relaxed. This is how we bond. With touch, with time, with trust. She didn't move for several breaths. Then she whispered again, I'm too big for you, human. I could hold you and not even know if I hurt you. Your bones are soft. Your heart is brave, but fragile. You don't fear me, but you should. He shook his head. You're not just big in size, Saraxa. You're big in soul. I've never met anyone like you, not even close. Back at base, trouble brewed. The High Command had reviewed the reports. A decision was made. Saraxa would be relocated to a secure off-world research facility. She's too dangerous, they claimed, too unknown. Ethan fought back. She's earned trust. She's not a lab subject, but orders came down hard. The facility would arrive in 3 days. They would sedate her, study her, possibly dissect her. Ethan couldn't let that happen. That night, he found Saraxa waiting outside the barracks. You heard, she said. They want to cage me. Or cut me. Or both. I won't let them, Ethan said. We'll escape. There's an old mining tunnel under the southern ridge. I can sneak us through. There's a supply ship launching soon. I'll get you out, Saraxa frowned. If I run, they'll see it as proof I'm dangerous, and they'll hunt me. Maybe hunt you too. Ethan didn't care. Then let them hunt. I choose you. Not because you're strong, but because no one ever chose you before. She stared at him for a long time, her golden eyes flickering in the darkness. Then she knelt and lowered her head to his chest. I was bred to fight, but with you, I want peace. If you lead, I'll follow. Even if the stars burn behind us. The night was cold when Ethan led Saraxa through the shadows. Her body barely fit through the carved rock tunnels, but she moved slow and careful, never letting her weight crack the floor. Lights were off, cameras disabled. Ethan had planned every step with old maps and stolen access codes. It had to work. Outside, the alarms hadn't sounded yet. But time was short. The off-world transport ship would arrive by morning. Once Siraxa was taken, there would be no second chance. Ethan checked his scanner clear. He turned to Siraxa. "We're halfway, you doing okay?" She nodded once, her golden eyes glowing dim in the dark. Her voice stayed quiet. "Your tunnels are small, but I will not stop." She ducked under a fallen support beam, her shoulders scraping the wall. Dust fell from above, but she didn't complain. "I was trained to march for days, carry wounded, crush enemies. But this is the first time I run for myself," Ethan smiled. "You're not running, you're choosing freedom. There's a difference." He offered her a hand, even though it was tiny compared to her claw. She touched it lightly, careful as if touching a bird's wing. "You always use small words with big meaning," she said softly. They reached a maintenance shaft that led toward the supply hangar. A faint light came through the vent. Siraxa lifted the cover and peeked. "3 guards," she said. "2 rifles, 1 stun baton. I can disable them, no blood." Ethan paused. "You sure?" She gave a small nod. "No killing." "I promise." In the blink of an eye, Siraxa moved. Silent like smoke, fast like a falling star. She wrapped her claws around the nearest guard, lifted him gently, and placed him down unconscious. The second. One barely turned before she swept him aside. The last dropped his weapon and tried to run, but Ethan stepped in his way. The guard froze, recognizing Ethan. "You?" he said. "Why are you helping it?" Ethan stared back. "She's not. Annette, she's Siraxa. She saved me. Now I save her." The guard didn't fight. Just backed away slowly and sat on the floor, breathing hard. Siraxa returned without a scratch. They slipped through the hangar doors into the docking bay. The supply ship sat idle, blinking lights, casting shadows across the floor. "1 pilot," Ethan whispered, "probably asleep. If we time it right, we can launch before they track us." Siraxa looked at the small ship and frowned. "I may not fit, then we make it fit," Ethan said. "Or we tear out the roof." She raised an eyebrow. "You want me to tear apart your ship?" He smirked. "It's not mine. And I think it's time someone learned how strong you really are." With one powerful push, Siraxa bent the rear hull of the transport, making space for her upper body. Ethan scrambled inside, activating the controls. The ship hummed to life. Warning lights blinked red. Unauthorized launch sequence triggered. "We've got 2 minutes before intercepts reach us," he shouted. Siraxa crouched in the hull, her knees folded tight, arms braced against the walls. "I've fought star beasts in tighter spaces," she muttered. The engines roared, and the ship launched into the sky, burning through the upper atmosphere like a meteor. The Earth shrank behind them, but danger followed. 2 interceptors locked onto their trail. "Missiles incoming," Ethan said. "I can't outfly both." Siraxa's body shifted, arms stretching across the wall. "Open the cargo hatch, trust me." He hesitated, then hit the switch. The hatch slid open. She reached out into space. Claws extended and caught one of the missiles mid-spin. Her body jerked from the force, but she held on, then crushed the missile like it was made of glass. The explosion flared behind them, but the ship held together. The second missile missed. Alarms went silent. The stars opened up around them like a promise. Ethan turned to her, stunned. "That was insane," she shrugged. "Big hands, big reach. Sometimes it helps." He laughed for the first time in days. "You really are too much." She looked at him gently. "But still not too much for you." He stepped closer, the weight of Earth left behind. "Never," he said. "You're just enough for me." She tilted her head, unsure. "You're small. Your world rejected me. But you didn't. Why?" He looked her in the eyes. "Because where I come from, love isn't measured in size. It's measured in choice. And I choose you." The stolen ship floated quietly among the stars. Ethan rerouted power to keep them hidden. They drifted behind the shadow of a broken moon, one of the many forgotten bodies near the edge of Earth's reach. For now, no one chased them. But he knew it wouldn't last long. Saraxa remained curled in the back of the vessel, her large frame taking up most of the space. She barely moved. Her eyes stared through the wall, watching the stars like they were calling her. "You miss it," Ethan said, handing her a canister of water. "Your world, I miss my sky," she replied. It was violet. Bright in the day, black fire at night. "I used to sleep under it before I was taken to war." She took the water, sipping gently. "I never had a home again after that. Just camps, training, orders. You've got a new sky now," Ethan said. "Maybe not violet, but it's peaceful. And no one can order you here." She smiled slightly, but it faded quickly. "Peace is strange. It makes you notice things, feel things. I was never taught how to feel, only how to destroy." Ethan sat beside her, even though she took up the whole space. "Then we'll learn together. We'll figure it out. No one's born knowing how to be free." He looked at her claws, at the way she kept them away from him, as if she feared breaking him by mistake. She noticed his gaze. "These hands were made to kill. Do you know what it's like to carry that every day?" Ethan nodded. "I carried a rifle since I was 17. I've done things I wish I hadn't, but the weight isn't in your hands. It's in what you choose next." Saraxa tilted her head. "You always say things that turn pain into hope." "It's dangerous," he smirked. "Hope is always dangerous. But it's the only thing worth chasing." She didn't reply right away. Then her voice softened. "Do you really mean it? That you choose me?" "I meant every word," he said. "I didn't care what command said. I didn't care what others thought. When I saw you protecting me, risking your life, I knew. You were more than the war. You were someone worth standing beside." Her breathing slowed. "In my culture, bonding is shown with a mark, not a ring, not a vow, a physical sign. I would give mine to you, but it doesn't belong on your skin. It would scar." Ethan leaned close, unafraid. "Then show me in your way, whatever that is. I want to understand you." She reached into a pouch woven into her armor. Inside was a glowing shard, deep blue and pulsing softly. "This is my crest," she said. "It has grown from my body. It contains my scent, my strength, my name. If I give it, it means I am yours. And you are mine." Ethan extended both hands. "Then I accept it." Saraxa hesitated, her massive claws holding the shard carefully. She placed it in his hands. As it touched his skin, it grew warm. A small pulse of light moved across his fingers. His body didn't reject it. It accepted. It didn't hurt. He said, surprised, "I thought it would burn." She shook her head. "Only if it's rejected. But your body, your soul, took it in. That means the bond is real." Her voice trembled, just a little. "You're my mate now, Ethan." His heart pounded, but not in fear. "Then you're mine too," he whispered. She lowered her forehead to his, careful and slow. Their heads touched. It wasn't a kiss. It was something older, deeper. A joining of breath, of presence, of promise. The ship's alarm blinked once. Incoming signal. Ethan moved to the control panel. A message from a nearby settlement flickered on the screen. "Unregistered vessel, we see you. Identify or be fired upon." Saraxa stood up behind him. "We can't fight now. Not with what little fuel remains." Ethan typed fast. "We're not here to fight. We're just trying to survive. One human. One Gravax, not enemies, just bonded." Silence followed for a moment. Then the response came back. "Show yourself, approach slow. If you lie, you'll be vaporized." He turned to Saraxa. "You ready?" She nodded. "If they reject us, we run. If they accept us, we begin again." He reached for her hand. "Whatever happens, we face." It together now. The ship moved slowly toward the outpost station, lights dimmed and weapons offline. Ethan kept his hands on the console, nerves tight. Syraxa stood behind him, her large frame ready to shield him if needed. Neither spoke, but both knew this moment would decide everything. The docking clamps hissed and locked. The outer hatch opened with a sharp groan. Armed guards in thick armor waited outside. Their rifles were raised, but their fingers didn't squeeze the trigger. One officer stepped forward, eyes moving between Ethan and the towering alien behind him. "State your name," the officer said. "Private Ethan Mace," he answered. "And this is Syraxa. She's not a prisoner. She's my companion. We're bonded by her species tradition. I accepted her crest. She saved my life. I chose her. And she chose me." The officer didn't lower his weapon yet. "You're asking a lot of trust, soldier. A Gravax giant bonded to a human? That's not something we hear every day." Ethan nodded. "You don't have to understand it. You just have to believe I'm telling the truth. Look at her. She could have destroyed your outpost before we ever landed. But she didn't." Syraxa knelt slowly, lowering her body so she wouldn't seem threatening. Her claws rested on the floor. "I do not want to fight," she said. "I only want peace. And to protect the one who gave me his heart. If that's a crime, then I accept punishment." The guards exchanged looks. One whispered to the officer. Then the officer slowly raised a hand. Lower weapons. Rifles dropped, though some hands still trembled. The officer stepped forward and looked up at Syraxa. "We've lost good men in this war. But if one of theirs saved one of ours, maybe the war doesn't have to last forever." Ethan felt his breath return. For the first time in days, he smiled without fear. "We'll help however we can. She knows their tactics. She knows their leaders. Let us prove we're worth trusting." The officer nodded once. "Then start by not breaking anything. This base isn't built for giants." Syraxa let out a soft laugh. "I'll be careful." She crawled inside slowly, careful not to crush walls or wiring. The crew cleared a space for her in the cargo hold. Ethan stayed close, never leaving her side. The bond between them was clear. Where one went, the other followed. Over the next few days, she helped repair damaged machinery with her strength. She trained soldiers on how to defend against Gravax tactics. And she stopped a fight between two patrol squads without lifting a single claw, just by standing between them and saying one word. "Enough." Ethan worked alongside her. Every night, they shared food in the hangar corner. Sometimes they talked about her past. Sometimes about Earth. One evening, she asked softly, "Do you think I'll ever be welcome on your world?" He looked up at her. "You already are. You just haven't been there yet." News of the bond spread quickly. Some called it strange. Others called it inspiring. But one thing became clear: Syraxa wasn't seen as a monster anymore. She was a bridge. A sign that peace wasn't just possible, but already starting with two souls who chose each other. Then the call came. The war was ending. A ceasefire had been signed. The Gravax leaders, hearing of Syraxa's actions, agreed to talks. She was asked to speak at the first peace meeting. Ethan stood with her as she stepped onto the platform, towering over everyone. "I was born to fight," she said to the crowd, "raised to destroy. But one human, small, kind, stubborn, chose to see me as more than that. He wore my crest, and I wear his trust. That is why I stand here today, not as a warrior, but as a mate, a partner, a believer in something new." After the speech, Ethan took her hand and held it up. The crowd clapped. Some cheered. Some cried. But none walked away untouched. In that moment, the war felt far behind. What stood in front of them was not just peace, but the proof that love, even between the most different beings, could shape galaxies. Later that night, as they watched the stars from the outpost rooftop, Ethan leaned against her shoulder. "You remember the first thing you said to me?" he asked. Saraxa nodded. "I said I was too big for you." He smiled. "You weren't. You were just right." She wrapped her arm around him, gentle and warm. "And you were always bigger than you. Looked big enough to carry my heart."